Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, with the mercy and blessing of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we are on the journey to discover the best in you. And today we will be embarking a beautiful journey in which we will see a game that we play often and we don't realize it that we do play this blame game. So joining with me is Sister Beenish. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Walaikum assalam wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, today, eh, we would love to be rising stars. We would love to unleash our potential and do more from our life, but we get engrossed in this amazing game that we do not realize, but we spend a lot of our health, wealth, and resources on it. So, can you help us understand what is blame game?
So, what is blame game? Situations happen in our life, and we always want to associate to something or some cause or reason. Somebody else or something has to be responsible. Now, if we are going in the wrong directions, we can go anywhere, we can go all over the place. What happens in blame game is that we put all the blame on something or someone to be released or relieved of our own responsibility. It helps us feel safe and okay. It also appeases the guilt, and it can create red flags for us to look out for. It can also help us articulate what we really want. And the problem comes when we are stuck in that blame game. Part of us always wants to move on, but then a part of us is reluctant because sometimes some of us are so used to and comfortable of being in the zone of putting all the blame and responsibility on the other person or something, and then we just want to hold on to it. It's comfortable for us because anytime you want to make a change, it is going to be a discomfort.
Yeah, you have to come out of your comfort zone. So many of us relate to these comments, right? I can't believe he or she said that. Or they should know better. Or after all that I've done, this is what I deserve. So this hurt is something that we carry with us, and it becomes the biggest obstacle in becoming the best version of ourselves. So how could I have been so stupid, or why did he or she do that to me? So if any of these comments sound similar, so these are we're going to explore that how they are part picture of the blame game. So who are the players of the blame game? It's really interesting. If we understand them, then it's easier for us to realize like what's happening in our life, subhanallah. So the players of the blame game include the accuser, the person who is pointing fingers at others to shift responsibility or avoid accountability. And in this game, in today's sitting, we want to see and reflect that in some way or the other, we are not playing the role of the accuser.
We're going to find out
We're
where
going
we
to find out
stand.
where do we stand, right?
We do.
The other person is the defender who feels the need to justify their actions, often becoming defensive or retaliatory, like there's a lot of retaliation coming in the picture. Then there is an avoider, someone who diverts attention from their own mistakes by blaming circumstances or other people. And the enabler, who is a passive participant who goes along with the blame to avoid conflict or scrutiny. So that's and then if we look very closely, this observer is an onlooker who might encourage or reinforce blame behavior intentionally or unintentionally. And it's really interesting if we look at these roles, somewhere or the other we play these roles. Even if we don't like sports or we say, oh, we don't play any game, this is a blame game that many of us play. So the question is, do we want to break the game and live life which is right?
We want to move on.
So we want to
right?
break the
We
blame.
don't want to get stuck in a situation and not be able to move on with our lives. SubhanAllah, the fact is that all of these roles you just mentioned, you or I could be one person playing all of these roles
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Simultaneously, right? So one is happening in our life, second we could be a spectator in
In
somebody else's life.
in one same situation, you can play all of these roles, subhanallah. And that is self-sabotaging your own growth, your own success, your own ability to move on with life, and basically learn from the situation.
So basically, if we come to this Quran and Sunnah guidelines, it's like La yukallifullahu nafsan illa wusaha. You will not be tested, tried except for your own capacity. And then acknowledging responsibility that each one of you is a shepherd and you'll be asked about your flock. So inshallah, focusing on that. So with that, let us explore what is exploring control when it comes to blame game. What is actually happening there? So basically, it's a shift.
So what happens is that we always want to be in control. That's our nature. You don't want to lose it. You don't want to lose that power, that ability that, I have no control over certain things. But when you are able to analyze a situation and figure out the difference between controllables and non-controllables, you will be able to, first of all, free yourself from a lot of pressure, a lot of weight you are unintentionally carrying, or even intentionally, because sometimes it becomes your habit and you just like, this is what I want to do. You choose it. SubhanAllah. So that's where you need to analyze your own behavior and separate the controllables from the non-controllables. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us the ability to control some factors in our life. And then on the other hand, he also has mentioned that not everything is going to be in your control. So we need to keep this in mind, that ultimately it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who's controlling everything. So anything that's happening with you, anything that's coming to you, anything that's hitting you was meant for you, specifically for you. That is why you are experiencing or going through something. Now it is your approach towards that situation that's going to either benefit you or harm you in a way. And then you will, learn from it, or you're stuck in it.
So basically, as we explore control, it's like we're all consciously opting to break the blame and now play the game, and that is going to be by focusing on my actions and my reactions.
So am I reacting or am I responding? These are two different ways of approaching a situation. And like we learned last time about separating your emotions, that helps us think rationally. And when we do that, we will be able to differentiate our own response or actions towards a certain situation. You need to make sure you're separating your reaction from your
I'm so glad you brought this up, because personally that exercise helped me a lot. So I was able to dissect as I was going through my day. I was able to dissect the feelings separately and the reality separately. So taking that emotion factor out of it and the ground reality of it, and then focusing on my reaction. So if anybody has missed on that, they can benefit from that and do that exercise. But today, inshallah, we will look at, some ways how can we come out of this, or you rather say break the blame and start the real game. So the first thing that we need to do is pen it down. So we have to write down, and what exactly are we writing here?
So, Sister Javeria, it's our responsibility towards ourselves to take care of our well-being, right? Whether it's physical, it's emotional, or mental. All of the capabilities are given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're fully capable. It's not that we're not. The only thing we do is that we fall victim to our own emotions, and then we just don't think through. Emotions overpower our thinking abilities, and all that happens, subhanAllah. When we sit down and write things down, it does wonders. It does wonders. Oftentimes when you are writing things down, you are able to see whether they're even worth my time, and you are able to reflect back, and you are able to analyze better. You are able to separate yourself from the situation. I oftentimes tell my clients to look at your life from outside, and that experience is amazing. It's transformational. Trust me. SubhanAllah. When you look at your life from outside, you are able to be neutral towards it. And then you think more rationally, and then you take the right steps that's going to help you in your life to be successful. So today's exercise is teaching us exploring control. Our aim is to notice the new areas of control and opportunity for actions where they were previously missing. For example, we might not be doing something. Now, when we go through this exercise, we will learn how to handle situations better, inshallah. The step one is to write the problem. Right? In one statement, one sentence, write your problem.
Now, many people love to talk about it,
Yeah.
right? So we all, like, as humans, we went through something.
Yeah.
You had a flat tire, or you have somebody, like, bumped into your car, or some child did something. We just want to vent it out. But when the minute we ask somebody to pen it, write it, it's like, oh no, this is not my cup of tea.
Or
So
this is not as valuable to
It's not as valuable anymore. It's like, oh, what's the point? Like, I already know it in my head, so why just put it here?
Yeah.
And then you are still continuing your life with that jumbled up feelings and stuck with that, brain there. So I guess I would love for myself and everybody else to consciously say this to myself, that I'm going to turn my day into a constructive experience by doing an act of awareness, intention, and energy. Like, writing it down, it's going to make me more aware. I will have a more focused intention towards making my even the worst of experience into a better outcome, for a better outcome. And I'm looking forward to the energy it brings to me, rather than being an energy drainer for me. So,
and it's also helping you to take it out of your system.
yes.
Now, you mentioned venting. I'm not a big fan of venting, by the way, subhanAllah, because what we have turned venting into is a complaining session to everybody we see.
Yeah.
That is not venting.
And to irrelevant, right? There's no relevance to
I don't
that.
need to know every detail of your
Right.
day, and you may be the 10th person
it's-
I'm seeing today.
It's basically telling my symptoms, like, my symptoms I'm having with my bladder to an eye
everybody.
doctor or somebody else, like, who
Everybody.
doesn't even know, like, what to solve. So you've got
Yeah.
to take your problems to the right place, right?
Your
So,
problems become as big as you will make them into. The more you talk about the problems, that becomes the bigger part of your day. And that's how you are living a bad day over and over and over
So to
again.
play this game correctly, we are going to move that conversation from that problem towards solution, inshallah. And that's where we are asking that we pen it. Pen it with responsibility. So pen it thinking that you are response-able. Why I'm saying this slowly is that these words itself, like response and then the ability, they're two separate words. So what am I focusing on is my response, and then my ability where it lies. And I am fully capable. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you the faculties to handle it, because He said it, like, there's no soul will be tested right beyond their capacity. So inshallah, with that mindset, yes, go ahead, pick up those paper, pick up a pen. If you are a digital writer, at least hold on, to a digital device and write it. Give yourself a pause and definitely write where you are wanting to go and what's the hindrance in the way and where you are stuck, and then pen it down, like what's how you want to
that's
approach
your
it.
problem. And then the second step we will do is that once we have that statement, underneath that statement we'll make two columns. One column for the controllables and the second column for the non-controllables.
You want to give an example of that to help
So
us?
sure, yeah. For example, this kid here that's mentioned in the book, the example that's mentioned here is of a kid who took his exam a couple times and he failed it. His response or reaction to that situation was to drop out. But when the time passed, he realized that he could do something else or try different strategies.
I think what the author meant was that the first thing that he said was that it's the teacher is picking favorites. So it's the blame
game.
So he entered the blame game, that it wasn't conducive, and many of us, as
we do that.
strivers, we see that, like, oh, I didn't get time to study, I was too bombarded,
Test was too
the
hard,
was too
or
hard,
the teacher didn't teach us this.
teacher, and she wanted us to fail and things like that. So it was a repetitive blame game, So what are the outcomes? Like, what can you do? So at that point in time, your option is fight or flight, and then dropping out seems an easy way out.
Easy way out. So that's what happens when we are putting blames on somebody. We are absolving ourselves from our own responsibilities. And
this reminds me, yesterday I was sitting with somebody very successful, mashallah, he's doing wonders in the community, and I was talking about him, like how you got to where you are. And he said like he had built 100-person plus department in a very big organization here, like it's very big famous company with the name Verizon. So he was working with that, and then all of a sudden something happened, and the HR person walked into his room and he said that you are terminated. So you can start the blame game at that time, that this is this person politics, this is that person, they don't want a desi person up there or whatnot, you can say at that time. But you know what he did? He did exactly what we are asking our audience to do, that pen it down. And then he said, I've made a pledge to myself that I'm never going to work for anybody anymore. And that's the start of these two new organizations which have over 500 employees right now. Like it's like Fortune 500 company now. So that's where his journey started. So that's phenomenal. That's when we
faith in Allah,
stop the blame, and we actually get in the game.
Yes.
So there was no point sitting and pointing fingers, because the decision is not going to change, right? So that's where what is in your control and out of control, that you're saying people to do it, it's so important, right? So if I say something back to this person, will the situation change or not? That's something not in your control. But if you work hard and you set up an organization of your own, that's something in your control that can certainly happen. So it's really interesting, and it's important that as we go through, each one of us is able to connect to the jigsaw puzzles in your life and kind of see where we got stuck because we fell into the trap of accuser or the defender or those roles, or we chose to play the game the right way.
Yep. Subhanallah. So the ayah in the Quran that you may dislike something, but there is good in it. That should be the principle. That should be the principle of our lives. And if we do that, if we follow that, subhanallah, things become like half easy right there. Now, when we have put down our problem, we're gonna make 2 columns about controllables and non-controllables. You will jot down some steps on both in both columns and talk about in this situation, what could I have done or what was in my control, and in the next column, what was not in my control. Once you have all that data, you will put it aside for a couple days. So sleep on it. Don't need to take any actions, don't need to react, don't need to
makes waste.
Yes, relax, sleep on it. Couple days later, go back to the list and then look at it again, review it, and if you have any more thoughts, add to it. If you want to change anything, change. So you have that time, you do the review, you add something, you remove something. Next, you need to notice which side has more entries and ask, what have I been focused on? So this is when you are analyzing what your initial response or initial focus was on. And that's where you can categorize yourself. Am I a pessimist or optimist, or do I look at the bright side or not? And I'm not saying that you label yourself that, but what is your initial response?
So that's where another exciting, interesting example coming to my mind. This is becoming very popular in Pakistan. There's with the name of Granny's Kitchen. So this husband and wife combination, they say like he was let go of his organization and he comes back home, and the wife welcomes him that you have worked hard so long. So why don't we take a break? So this thing, like, putting that list and then just sleeping over it, they actually took 6 months, like during the COVID days, they said that they just relaxed, rested, and, took their time, enjoying each other's company and rethinking their life. And that's when these great ideas come. And then she took courses with MIT and whatnot. And, subhanAllah, now it's like a very healthy brand that they have built up. and it's doing amazing. So yeah, if we are not willing to make a change in our life, then there's no point listening forward from here, right? So then there is just talk, 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 and there's not gonna help.
No walk.
No walk, right?
Yeah.
So if we really, really want to break the blame and we really want to play the game, then I want us to focus on what Sister Bina said, like, like every word that you said, like, write this 2 columns and then write everything what comes to your mind, not missing on all aspects. Like, look at the aspects from spiritual, from physical side, from mental side, from emotional side, writing everything down, details, and then giving it some time. So you come back the next day, and you add to it, and you add to it. Your papers get more full, and you keep adding to it. And then you sit down and evaluate which side is more and which side is less.
Yeah. And you will also understand what is more important and not. And the things that are not in your control are something that you don't need to worry about. And that's Allah's responsibility.
And what
Allah. And lastly, what will happen with this exercise will be that you will be able to understand, first of all, controllables, and differentiate between those two. And then you will have to figure out a few practical steps you will take from this point on and move on.
Yeah.
Like you said, you have to move on. If you don't want any change, then there's no point listening to our conversation here.
Yeah.
That's your intention. Why are you starting even the exercise? Or why are you listening to us? What's the purpose behind it? Do you really want to change your life or not? That's your intention. That's on top.
Yeah. So because this is what our goal is, that discover the best in you. So here again some examples of what is in my control and what is in not my control. So if in certain situation you are talking or you're not talking back, does it changes what they're going to say or not say? It still remains the same. It's not something in your control. Right? If I get angry or not in my control is the other person's mood or motivation. Like, how is this person? And in my control is what am I gossiping about somebody, and what is not in my control is what the other person is going to do. They're going to fire me or hire me, or how they're going to do things. So it's like, always evaluating what's in my control and what's not in my control. Like, for example, some people, like I'm going to give an example from a household. So the ladies, they hear somebody's coming to the house. So you can sit and you can keep like be getting anxious about it, that hey, guests are coming tonight at 8 p.m. and guests are coming tonight, and you can make a fuss out of it in the whole house. Or you can focus on what you can control. Okay, you cannot throw a whole party, but at least you can cook a decent meal for them, right? So if you focus on that, you cannot control if they will show up or not, but you can control that your house could be neatly tidied up and be ready for, for the things.
So what you focus on
is
something that you can control.
Yeah. So
Right?
instead of focusing why somebody is dropping by, or why is this person doing this, or why did they do this, why they always show up.
In any situation, what you are choosing to focus on is in your control. That we need to understand, right? If I want to control on the controllables, if I want to focus on the controllables, or I want to focus on non-controllables and then waste my time and life and energy.
So if you easier look at it, it's not focus on the problem, but focus on the solution, basically. So yes, all right. So we're there, alhamdulillah. All right. So the act of focusing is in our control, alhamdulillah. And we can train ourselves to focus on the things we control so we can take action. Because knowledge demands action, right? So this will become a habit with continued practice and will begin to come naturally to us. And here, inshallah, we will conclude with this ayah of from the Quran, that every soul for what it has earned will be retained. Kullu nafsin bima kasabat rahina. So shift your paradigm. Focus on your own selves. You will not be asked for anybody else what role or goal they had, but you will be asked about your own self. So don't wreck yourself, rather check yourself where my life is going to, and let us break the blame and start the real game, which is living your life to your full potential. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us so not only have this paradigm shift for ourselves, But even for many a times we are invited to other games, right? So we are invited to other people, and a lot of our time is consumed because there's some drama or something going on in other people's life as well. So even at that time, try to have like a solid nasiha, the right reminders for that person with a sincere heart, how to solve the problem, focusing on the solution rather than focusing on the problem. Inshallah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala facilitate. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all a life which is full of gratitude and patience. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us do that pleases Him. Jazakumullah khair, Sister Beenish. And inshallah, we would love to see how anybody has practically benefited from it. So the comments are always going to be there to help us motivate each other. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.